So thank you for joining us. My name is Jessica Reynolds. I'm the Director of the Office of Downtown Development at the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. And I have with me here Lequrica Gaskins, our Economic Development Director, Main Street Director, Downtown Development Authority Diva, all things Queen Bee here in Downtown Tifton. And I asked Lequrica, this is probably back in April or March of this year, if she wouldn't mind talking to us about how they maintain a thriving downtown here in Tifton. I would say one of the biggest things and questions we get questions about all the time when we're traveling throughout the state is always, how do I financially make this happen? You know, there's all these, I have so much I want to do, the board has so much they want us to do, but it's more than just a will of wanting to do it and execute it. It's how do we actually make this happen? How do we make this financially feasible? And the thing that I love the most about Lequrica is that she has really seen what's out there and taken advantage of every possible funding opportunity that has come her way. And, you know, I think that you have to not be afraid to jump on that and just, you know, let's try it and let's go for it and see what happens. So with that being said, Lequrica, I'm going to turn that over to you. Yes. And I apologize, like the third go around that we're trying this, but at least I'm getting messages saying that we are live and people are hearing us. Right, so we're good to go.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. As Jessica said, I'm Lequrica Gaskins, the Economic Development Director for the City of Tifton. Would like to thank Jessica and the Georgia Department of Community Affairs for this opportunity to share with you some of the projects that we've done here in Tifton. As I was saying earlier, I enjoy going to trainings, but one of the things that I don't like is when folks tell us to fish, but they don't show us how. So in this presentation, I'm going to share with you projects that we've actually implemented, and I'm going to share with you funding opportunities that were available. Actually, grant funds is what we're focused on. Funds that we were able to use in order to get the projects implemented. So I'm going to share all of those great things with you as we go along. A couple of tools in our toolbox that we utilize every year in order to identify our work plan and to make sure that we're working on projects that are efficient and effective is that we do a SWOT analysis every year. Every year during the month of March, we have a Downtown Development Authority planning retreat, and we identify exactly what we're going to be working on for the full year. And we wait during the spring of the year to have this retreat because, as most of you guys probably are doing, we've completed our Christmas festivities for the downtown in December. Most folks are coming back in January from holiday season, and February we're getting back into the track of things. So in March is the month that we identified to really take advantage of what we're going to be working on for the next 12 months. Within that planning retreat, we have a SWOT analysis, and as you guys know, our SWOT analysis is an opportunity for us to evaluate our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. And whenever we do that, we also pull out our master plan. We have a 20-year master plan that we actually commissioned a group out of Florida to complete for us. And it identifies projects that we're actually working on now and projects that we will be working on for the next few years. Whenever we did our master plan, we also did a market evaluation. We wanted an opportunity to evaluate our demographics. We wanted to know who was coming to our downtown, what they were doing when they got here. We wanted to know their behavior patterns. We wanted to know if they were male, female. We wanted to know their age group. We wanted to know all of the things that we could about these respondents. So we had our consultants to do a survey and a market evaluation, and we utilized both the market evaluation, the master plan, and the SWOT whenever we create our annual work plan for the year. A couple of tools that we have in our toolbox is the enterprise zone. For most of you guys who have enterprise zones, as you know, each city will differentiate things that are different. There are a lot of incentives within our enterprise zone that most developers really like. The 10-year property tax abatement for developers who are interested in coming into eligible areas, and whenever they fill out the enterprise zone, we're able to abate their property taxes for up to 10 years. One of the other things that we do, we can abate landfill tipping fees, because most folks who are coming into rehab buildings are going to be taking a lot of things to the landfill. So we are able to abate all of those costs and those fees. Business licenses and other things are also a part of that enterprise zone. Opportunity zones is another incentive that we offer developers, and the City of Tifton was the third state in Georgia to be designated as an opportunity zone. And I often tell merchants, if you don't take advantage of the opportunity zones, you're leaving money on the table. So we try to make sure that they have all of the resources that they need in order to be able to do that. Our DDA is one of those Downtown Development Authority groups that will be able to, we lend and we borrow, so that we are able to offer low interest rate loans to developers within our area who's interested in developing. As you guys know, there are other lending opportunities out there through the DDRLF, Georgia Cities Foundation, and some other incentives that we also take advantage of. We also have developers who also are interested in the tax credits, so we are certain that we get them the information that they need. And then we also are very blessed in the City of Tifton to be able to utilize grant funds, and that's mostly what we'll talk about within this presentation, how we were able to utilize grant funds to implement projects. This is what we call the gap, and this is what we identify as the catalyst of our downtown. And we identify this as the catalyst because this is the project that really sparked economic development within our downtown. And what the gap is, we applied for a $336,000 redevelopment fund grant through the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. This was a building within our downtown that was threatening the adjacent buildings on the opposite end of both sides of the street. It was a slum and blight building that was right in the center of our downtown. You'll see where we took a wooden fence just to make it safe so that folks wouldn't fall over in there. But we were able to create develop a green space in this area, and this is what it looks like now. And this is actually an old picture. If you go there now, there's a water fountain there, there are tables there for folks to have outside dining, and we're about to put some umbrellas out there too. If you look to the left of the building, if you go there now, you will see that there's been a developer locally who has purchased that building, and it's a nice upscale restaurant that is doing very, very, very well. They have actually added to the nightlife for our downtown. Our restaurants in Downtown Tifton are doing very, very well for our downtown. One of the things that we needed in our downtown was a brochure to help to market our downtown and our historic inventory. So we applied for a Georgia Historical Preservation grant through Ms. Carol Moore. If you know her, she's over that department. But we applied for that grant, and we were able to get $7,600 to help us with a downtown brochure to help us market our downtown and our historical inventories. And we have a landmark brochure now that we give out to visitors and tourists who are coming into our area looking for information about what we have in our downtown. In order to apply for that pot of money, you have to be a certified local government or CLG. But that is one pot of money that we are definitely eligible to apply for. We also needed a new website. And we are very big on branding. If you go to our website matches our wayfinding signage program. It matches our banners. It matches anything that the DDA does. We try to make sure that even everything from the front of the logo, we try to make sure that everything is consistent and that it matches. So there again, we applied for another grant through the Georgia Historical Preservation Division, applied for $8,000, and we were able to launch a new website. This was a part of our work plan this particular year, and you'll see we have, as I said, it's a part of our branding initiative as well. One of the things that the DDA wanted to do is change out the existing light poles that are in our downtown. If you go to our downtown, you'll see that there's 12 blocks of live entertainment happening, retail space, local dining, administrative offices, but there is an inconsistency in terms of the street light pole and some of the furnishings that is out on our sidewalks. And if you go there now, in certain parts of the street, this is the current light pole that you'll see. This opportunity came up for us to be able to change out the old light poles. So we applied for a USDA ARPIC grant, and we were able to change out a whole section of our downtown to new light poles. Once again, this is a USDA ARPIC grant. I love working with USDA. They've been very, very good to Tifton, and I'm sure that they will be good to you if you guys apply for the grant funds as well. If you look at this picture, you'll see the new street light poles, which are throughout the downtown. These are the new light poles. They're again going back to the branding initiative. We are very big on making sure that there's some consistency even in the furnishings that we have downtown. So these are the light poles that are going throughout our entire downtown. We just recently completed a light study with a consultant who came down to evaluate all of the engineering services to change out every light pole in the entire 12 blocks. And this is what those light poles will look like. We were able to do most of this with, as I said, the USDA ArtBIC grant. This is just another picture of those street light poles for you to see those as well. We were in our master plan, whenever we did our SWOT analysis, we were told that we needed wayfinding signs in our downtown. We did not have signage. We did not have a way to help tourists navigate from one space to the other. So we actually went out and hired a consultant to come in and help us identify a family of signs. We actually submitted this project to the Georgia Downtown Association, and it actually won a design award of excellence. But if you'll look, you'll see that in this family of signs, there's a historical marker, there's informational kiosks, there's public parking signs, and there are directional signs. I applied for USDA ArtBIC grant in the amount of $99,000 and was able to launch the first phase of our wayfinding signage program. This is one of our directional signs. There again, going back to the branding, you'll see our logo that's on the back of the sign. We wanted to make sure when tourists got to their location and were still perhaps looking for a designation, if they saw the logo from a visual standpoint, they will be able to match up saying, hey, I remember seeing that, and then the logo would perhaps also help them in finding their way. This is one of our gateway signs. This is a sign that you'll find when you're about to embrace the downtown. It basically says, welcome to Downtown Tifton. You'll see there, again, from a branding standpoint, there's our logo. And that's another one on the other side that says, once you're leaving, thanks for visiting historic Downtown Tifton. So you have the one that welcomes you, then you have one on the back that says, thank you for visiting. This is a kiosk sign, also part of our wayfinding signage program. What we wanted to do with this is utilize it as an opportunity to tell a little bit about our history. So whenever you look at the kiosk sign, on one side of this sign is information about certain landmarks in the downtown, and on the other side of the kiosk is a map that helps you navigate your way. We also applied for a historical preservation grant because this is a historic project, and we were able to get money to help purchase one of these kiosk signs. Our streetscape and pedestrian improvements, as I was mentioning earlier, we're very meticulous about the furnishings that are on our street sidewalks, and these are things that we're getting ready to work on. New decorative and hardscapes, grasses, plantings throughout the year, new site amenities. We're getting ready to implement pedestrian roadway lighting. We're also beginning to implement infrastructure resurfacing, and all of these projects are going to be completed utilizing grant funds. How are we going to do that? Well, we applied for a Georgia Department of Transportation T21 grant. We have a meeting this afternoon at 12 o'clock where we're going to meet on site with our consultants because we're about to initiate the start of our second streetscape project. It's going to include a whole area of reconstruction, where we finished off a streetscape project a couple of years ago. Whenever we completed that streetscape project a couple of years ago, it also included an opportunity for us to pave the entire Highway 41. And as you guys know, Highway 41 turns into Main Street turns into Love Avenue. So we were able to get our entire streetscape project, Main Street area resurfaced, and GDOT actually paid for that because that was a project that was on their work plan. So it looks like we really did a lot of work, but we were able to maximize our dollars with our grant money and with what they had on their work plan as well. This is the area that we did a couple of years ago. As you guys can see, there's a lot of potholes here. You'll see that there needs to be some pavement improvements, and we applied for the grant funds to be able to do that, to make those improvements. This is where they were doing the work for that particular streetscape project. You'll see to the right of the guys who are working, you'll see that kiosk sign. That was a grant project, as I said earlier, and 2, the project that they're working on now is a grant project as well. More improvements for this particular grant. And this is what it looks like now. You'll see the new street light poles that are there. They're again paid with a grant. You'll see the improvements that were there where we created and cleaned up those potholes that were in the asphalt. All of that was done utilizing our T21 money. There again, as I mentioned earlier, we're about to start on our next phase of that project. So what we did here, we're going to continue throughout our downtown as well. The project that we will start on in this afternoon, we're actually meeting this afternoon, that is going to be a $700,000. Now that was a Georgia Department of Transportation pot of money as well. That was not the safety, that was not the T21 money, that was the safety lieu money. Both of those are streetscape pots of funds for you to be able to participate in. And there again, things that we're going to do with those dollars are new decorative hardscapes and plantings and new site amenities as well. That project starts this afternoon at 12. I also applied for another pot of money for another streetscape project. I remember when I applied for that, I had someone to tell me, oh, you're not going to get it because you haven't spent your other pot of money yet. Well, I'm one of those who believe you just have to tell me no. So I did apply for $1 million, and we were funded $500,000. We just got approval through Georgia Department of Transportation for us to go ahead and bid this third streetscape project. It's being bid now. We'll open the bids in September, and then we will start another phase of streetscape improvements for Commerce Way and other areas within our downtown. We also tapped into some money through our tourism endeavors that we participate in here in downtown Tifton. We utilized some money through the Georgia Department of Economic Development for funding for our festivals. We were able to get $23,062 one year. The next year we got $15,232, and I understand now that there are still dollars available within that organization through the product development grant. So there are funding opportunities for tourism initiatives as well. We applied for some money through GEFA. This was a very innovative funding opportunity. We needed money to do some upgrades to our HVAC systems. The TIFF Theater had some units that were 17 years old, and from a budgetary standpoint, we just did not have those dollars in our operational budget. So I applied for a GEFA grant to not only help the TIFF Theater, but we also utilized dollars in another historic building, which was our train depot, and our workforce center building. And we applied for $299,970, and we were awarded those dollars. And we were able to get new heating, air conditioning units, new windows in some of the areas. All of these dollars, of course, had to be energy efficient types of projects. But for you guys who understand historical preservation, you guys know that was easy to do. So we were able to make some improvements through these 3 buildings using dollars from our friends from GEFA. Also, the Georgia Department of Presentation, going back to them, they've been very, very good to us. If you guys heard the story about the Myon Hotel, Myon Hotel, of course, was our home for City Hall, and it was other spaces, other businesses which were in that building. We had to vacate that building because of some structural improvements that needed to be done. So we had to relocate City Hall to another temporary location. We applied for a $3,808 grant. 1 year, applied for the $20,000 for the next year, and we were able to make those improvements. That is a $2.2 million impact on our downtown for the overall improvements that we were able to make in the Myon Hotel. And we actually received the City of Tifton and the Myon Hotel received the Excellent in Rehabilitation Award from the Georgia Trust Historical Preservation for that particular project. The Tifton Merchants Association has grown by leaps and bounds. It is a membership organization for businesses who are located downtown. This year, it's grown to the point that we have businesses which are not in the downtown who are interested in being a member. And of course, we do let them know that our focus is promoting the downtown, but they just want to know, can they be a partner? Now, one of the funding opportunities that we've done in our Merchants Association is that we are now looking at taking a portion of our monies from our membership and investing them in certificates of deposits. And we're interested in doing that because right now their membership money is just sitting in a checking account and it's not drawing interest. Well, I want that money to draw interest, that when we have other promotional projects, we will have extra money that we can actually utilize for other projects. So we are actually taking bids from banks right now to find out what their highest interest rates are. And once we do that, we'll take a half of our balance, so we will inject it into a certificate of deposit for the next 12 months. It's just another innovative way to create money without having to work hard. We applied for a USDA grant, another USDA grant for our farmers market, and we applied for $99,999, and we actually was awarded that. This is a great way to be able to hire a person. We were able to hire a 20-hour part-time person to be able to coordinate the activities of the downtown farmers market, and we were also able to utilize those other dollars to do other things within the downtown. USDA is another great partner for downtown Tifton. And this is just our last clip, just wanting to remind everybody to eat, shop, and stay, of course, in our downtown and, of course, in your downtown as well. So if you're ever in Tifton, let us know. We'll definitely roll out the hospitality mat for you. And I thank you for listening to our presentations. And if you have any questions, just let us know.
Oh my gosh, every time I hear this, I get so excited because one of the things that I love the most is that you have been able to fund some things that people wouldn't traditionally think of as opportunities to go and seek funding for, especially when it comes to like website development and, you know, signage. And I mean, I think sometimes we just think of like streetscapes and like some of those bigger projects, but we don't think, hey, some of these little things that make a huge impact in what we do day to day, you know, there's opportunities out there, especially like even festivals and stuff like that. I think so many times we just think, oh, we're on our own for this. And I love that you've, you know, kind of seen what's out there and been creative about that approach to it. So let's see if we have some questions. Let me see. Goodness. Yep, sorry guys. It's not letting me see any questions, but I'm sure. Oh, okay, questions. There we go. Okay, first question is for Lequrica. Who did the light study when you had when you were reviewing those lights that you referenced earlier?
We actually have a company that's in North Georgia. AMAC did our light study. They are actually the consultants that have been with us with Streetscape for years. But they did our light study, and that light study is a very expensive light study. I think it's over $900,000 to be able to change all of those lights out. So what we did was the study is divided into phases. So we're going to take each corridor and actually implement it per phase. And because we're always looking for grant opportunities, what we'll do is we will implement, once funding becomes available, we will implement the completion of one phase at a time so that we can kind of bite the pie without biting the whole pie. Maybe one section at a time is what we will do.
I like that. I think this question is a really good one because I was actually thinking this myself. Do you have a dedicated grant writer for your city?
I write my own grants.
and here's another good follow-up to that. Did you have any experience?
No. I contributed that to one of my gifts. I think that for much is given, much is required, and I have never written grants. Some folks can sing. I can't sing, but God has allowed me to just be able to be lucky when it comes to that.
Absolutely, and I think part of it is just kind of having this fearless well, what are they going to say? No approach to it. I can totally relate, as you know, when you're a new manager, there's these things out there that you learn about and you're like, wow, I really want to do this, but I've never done this before. I don't have any formal experience. And I think you're a great inspiration to those who are kind of questioning their abilities and their chances of, you know, making this happen for themselves, knowing that you don't have to be a professional grant writer to go out there and get this kind of funding, which is really inspirational. And I think that, you know, as a network, we need to, you know, make sure we're sharing with each other. And if you have questions and if you're doing this and, you know, you want an opinion, you know, please make sure you're reaching out to Lequrica or other people that have, you know, taken advantage of these types of fundings, or even your regional commissions. You know, they do a lot of grant writing for community. So there are resources out there to kind of help you, you know, feel your way through this so you don't have to do it alone.
And keep in mind, too, it's all about, to me, it's all about building relationships, because I used to be very, very bashful about selling my story. I would never tell or brag on myself. I was very, very bashful when it comes to that. But when you tell your story, other folks hear about it, and there might be some opportunities for them to help let you know what funding opportunities are out there. So definitely tell your story. And as Jessica said, the regional commissions are great to work with to provide some grant writing assistance.
Okay, one more question, or we got several more questions, but the next one in line is, who developed your lovely logo?
Actually, there's a business locally here by the name of The Big Picture. Valerie Touchstone did our logo for us. And there again, if you look, the logo is everywhere. We have it on our napkins, on our cups, on our bottled water. But Valerie Touchstone developed our logo here through The Big Picture in Tifton.
I will say that I'm a branding girl at heart, and I love what y'all have done and making that feel real cohesive and making that connection. Because I will say, you know, we travel throughout the state, you know, visiting with communities all the time, and there's so often times where I'm like, am I there yet? Am I going the right way? Am I in the right place? And, you know, even coming to your office here today, I saw the beautiful gateway signage, and I was like, hey, I know, and I know where I'm going, but it's still nice. It's visible. It's easy to read. You know, it helps you make that connection. And I just think that a lot of times we kind of can take those things for granted, especially if we grew up in a community or from there. We just assume that everybody knows where they're going, and that, oh no, you can park behind Mr. Burson's store over there. He doesn't mind, even though there's a big no parking sign. You know, we kind of forget about those things and take it for granted. So I love what you guys have been able to do with the branding and making those connections and really seeing the value in that.
Thank you.
Okay, next question. Someone said, we have a small green space behind City Hall that's perfect for a pocket park. Where's the best place for me to apply for funding?
It depends on what's going to be your storyline. For us, we've done a couple of pocket parks, and the one that I showed to you, the Gap, we utilize SPLOST funds. We're very blessed that we get several. We're good. SPLOST is good to Tifton. But also, we started that project with the redevelopment fund grant for $336,000. So from my understanding, there are always dollars in that project. It's in that pot of money. As a matter of fact, we have a grant at DCA's office now for another redevelopment fund grant. But also, depending on what you're going to be doing, I would also reach out to USDA. Because what we're going to do is create some additional parking opportunities in our downtown. Our downtown has grown so substantially. We've got to be able to address our parking plan for the future. And you want to do that so that your success is not your defeat. So what we're doing is applying for a new redevelopment fund grant, and I'm also going to reach out to USDA to help me fund the asphalt paving of that project. So there are several opportunities that you can look for that green space. Keep in mind too, we have a Keep Tiff Beautiful project here. I think it's Keep Georgia Beautiful. There are some dollars in that pot of money. And I actually just applied for a Lowe's grant too of $25,000. So I'm waiting to hear from that. So there are all kinds of funding opportunities out there if you're innovative.
And also, I would suggest too, if you're not really sure where to start, having one of the DCA regional reps come and have a visit with you just to talk about what's out there. You know, they may be able to think of either funding opportunities through our agency or other state agencies that you may not be considering, and kind of let you know, are you on the right track? Is this something you should consider? I mean, they're just a great resource for when you're not really sure exactly where to start, but just need kind of like a partner in crime to help brainstorm the potential there. We had someone ask, can you elaborate on the SAFE TEALU grant application process?
Safety Lou, of course, both of those, Safety Lou and T21 monies are monies that we got from Georgia Department of Transportation. And just, they're almost like a different budget line item. Safety Lou T21 money is still streetscape money. The other one was another pot of money that can be utilized with streetscape. I remember our governor was very instrumental involved in that project whenever we did the Safety Lou project. But also, remember I said building relationships are very important. Whenever I realized I was going to be applying for that $500,000, I went and found out who was my contact person, because normally there are contact persons that sit on those boards with the Georgia Department of Transportation. And I invited him down. We took him to lunch and I told my story. So whenever he went before wherever they go to say, hey, how should we fund your particular region, he raised his hand and said, hey, Tifton has this going on. So build those relationships and build them and invite them to your board meeting. I invite USDA to my meetings. I invite whoever that particular stakeholder is, so they will hear our story and know what we have going on.
I love that. Yeah. I think it's so important to those relationships and being able to know who to contact and who to ask questions of and let them actually buy into your vision as well.
Right.
So let's see, can you explain the USDA RBEG program and how you were able to be eligible for that grant?
Yes, USDA, most, of course, USDA is really focused on rural communities, so it's mostly communities that are under the population of 50,000. But keep in mind, there are many funding resources that are in USDA. The RBEG grant is just the one that I've tapped into, but there are other grant opportunities that you can qualify for. But there again, the rural office for USDA is here in Tifton, but I know the ladies by name because there again, I believe in building relationships and keeping them informed of knowing what we're doing there. So definitely, I'm not sure which area you're in, but find out who your USDA consultants are. But there are a lot of USDA funding opportunities there, but also there are USDA funding opportunities for lending. If you have a developer who needs a loan, for housing, they do a lot of housing projects. So USDA is a really good go-to organization for a community partnership.
Yeah, and I think that was great that you touched on that there's several different funding opportunities through USDA. Right. It's not just one particular thing. Right. You really need to get in there and kind of explore a little bit about what's out there and what would be the best fit for you in a project that you have in mind. Right. So one question is about the USDA funding for your farmers market that you did, which I think is amazing, to think that we were able to fund this and get staff out of it. And I mean, like, that's a dream come true for most communities. Do you know if that kind of grant would go for the building or renovations to like a structure for a farmers market?
Absolutely. Our current USDA grant for the farmers market will be complete this year. And one of the things that I was able to do for the depot building, the DDA owns the depot building, and basically the farmers market is held on the platform, where we needed to paint the building and we needed to put exterior lights on the building. We needed to do some construction to the building. And all of those dollars, all of those projects were eligible. I was able to utilize my USDA grant to reimburse the DDA for having those expenses done. Now keep in mind too, we have the wayfinding signs. We've already put up some signage. Well, through this grant, through the farmers market grant, I'm able to put up another, by the end of the month, we'll have another intersection of wayfinding signs done. And my buy-in to that is that if I can put the farmers market on one of those blades and get tourists from wherever they're going to the downtown depot, then I'm getting folks to the farmers market. So it's gonna cost about $12,000 to do an intersection of wayfinding signs, and I'm paying for that through our USDA RBEG grant.
One of the other things I love that you touched on in the beginning was kind of understanding your market and doing that SWOT analysis and how much, and we talked about this kind of before we went live, but how much all that contributes to that long-range goal. Because I think so often we just focus on the big project and we don't necessarily focus enough on, is this the right fit for our community? Is this the right fit for our downtown? And understanding what we're working with before we dive into a big project head first. can you kind of talk to the role that the board plays in this process and kind of deciding, where do you go and what direction you're moving in?
Right. I was telling Jessica earlier, I have a very active participatory board members. They are wonderful. They're very engaged in downtown, and they utilize their strengths. For instance, I have an attorney on the board. I have a doctor on the board. I have a professional designer, and everybody utilizes their strengths to be able to implement good things in downtown. If you go back to the GAP project where we had the hole in the wall, we realized that we needed to do something different from our downtown. When I got here, funding was not really available for the Main Street program, but we were able to start with the GAP to create other things. One of the things that we also did, going back to the Main Street master plan and all of those other reports, they're very important. We did a charrette with University of Georgia Carl Vinson Institute, where we realized we didn't know that there were some things that we could improve on. So we had the design community to come in and do an evaluation of our community to tell us what things they saw. That's how we knew we needed a new branding initiative and we needed signs, because there were folks who say, hey, we didn't even know you had a downtown. And we were thinking, how do you not know you got a downtown? But because of those reports that Jessica is referring to, the master plan, and by getting the community's buy-in and listening to other folks provide their comments, we realized that we needed to have those pieces of the puzzle in place. I was also sharing with Jessica this morning, next week we have 2 developers who are interested in investing into Downtown Tifton. I have never had someone call me from outside of this for Tifton to say, I'm interested in investing a couple of $1 million into your downtown. Or had we not had the master plan and the GAP project and all of those other incentives that we've already have in the toolbox, we probably wouldn't have those investors who are interested in coming to invest within our downtown. So we're very excited to be able to say, yeah, we can come on in. We've got some things for you to develop, but it goes back to being able to provide to them the master plan and showing them the data that if you build it, they will come, because the data supports the projects that you're interested in bringing in. So I think having your master plan, having your market plan, your evaluation study are very, very important tools to have in your toolbox. So when the developers knock at the door, you're able to give them the information that they need.
Cool. We had a question about who did the 20-year master plan.
Genesis Group. There's a company in Florida called Genesis Group that did our master plan. We actually had several folks who apply, submit a proposal, and we evaluated all of the companies because we wanted to make sure we had the company who had our best interest in mind, and that was the company that was chosen.
Cool. All right, looks like we've reached the end of our Q&A session. Thank you so much, Lequrica. I know, like I said, we had some technical difficulties, but
my pleasure.
I love this. I love being able to see the impact. And the crazy thing is, even though I've seen this a couple times now, because we had some challenges trying to make this happen, I still am amazed every time I get to see what you've done here and, the resources and stuff that you've utilized to make it happen. It's extremely inspiring.
Sure, my pleasure.
So thank you again for putting this together for us. Guys, if you have any questions, if you're looking at something and Lequrica's done this before, please reach out. I mean, that's what our network is about. It's about being able to share with each other and help lift each other up and rely on resources. And even if Lequrica can't help you or I'm not exactly sure, we can point you in the right direction and get you in touch with other people that can help empower you through these processes. So thank you again, and this, of course, will be uploaded to our YouTube channel later for viewing. If you want to take some time a little bit later, go back through, process this all again, take it all in again, it'll be available for you guys to do so. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time.